Hi guys, video number 11 from the calling classes. On today's video, we're gonna be talking about battle mounts. Battle mounts are basically the walking mounts that people use on the Zerg, and they have huge potentials for deliver you the best defensive possible on your Zerg, or also the best offensive possible on your Zerg. I'm not gonna be talking about all the better mounts on these videos, but I'm gonna be talking about the ones that are being used on ZVZ currently on the meta. And also which type of better mounts you would like to use depending on the composition you're running. Okay? So let's take a look into it. The first thing before you build a BattleMount composition is you need to know what your Zerg composition wise and how many people you have. Usually, if you have a Zerg of like 80 people, you want to have around 8 BattleMounts. It's usually 1 BattleMount per 10 players, or 1 BattleMount per 15 players. So like this. But also depends on your quantity of players that you have. For example, if you mass 20 people, you cannot have a Juggernaut or a Ballista just because you don't have enough people to add in your composition the better mounts necessary. So let's say if you have a 20-man Zerg, you always want to have one chariot and that's it. Why? Because the chariot, it gives pretty much a big area like adjudicator armor, but bigger on defensive wise, and that's like huge, like really good. Or like it's the best thing that you can do when you have like 20 players, because it, if you read the chat, it helps defense versus players up to 25 allies. So it's basically defend you well from the enemy. Also, if you wanna use an expensive version from the chart, you can always use the Command. I don't have one in my bag now, but I can just show you by here. You can also use the Command Mammoth, who gives pretty much the same defense, but instead of a limited amount of players, it gives to everybody. But Command Mammoth is really expensive. You never really want to be using one of those unless you're very confident about your Zerg. So basically, if you have 20 players, you want to have a chariot, maybe a lizard. Lizard is this one who pretty much it does, it reduces the defense from your enemy by a certain amount when you spit, decrease all and damage by enemy by 25%, and also break the enemy defense. So it's really good to have a low amount of people. In case you have 40 guys, then things change a little bit. Because if you have 40 guys, instead of using one chariot, you actually can use 2 of them. Because now you need more than 25 players being buffed, so you can use 2 chariots. But also, when you have like 40 or a little bit more, you can start using other things like behemoths, eagles, or even juggernauts, or like mammoths, for example. But we're gonna talk about it soon. The very first thing you need to know is what a BattleMount player need to wear. My recommendation is for every BattleMount player they use this setup. They either use 100 mace with the edges, or bloodletter with edges, and always use plate armor because it's gonna give more defense, so the BattleMount don't get demounted. Also, 47 keep is what you wanna use in case you get demounted. That's pretty much it. Okay. Talking about the BattleMounts, it pretty much depends on the Zerg composition. For example, if you run a hit and kite composition, you don't need, for example, behemoths, because your Zerg gonna stay on that position for long. What you need is pretty much chariots and eagles and a mammoths if possible. So personally, if I have 80 people and I'm running a one-shot composition, what I want to have is 2 or 3 chariots, 2 or 3 eagles, a mammoth, and 2 lizards. Because the lizard's gonna throw the poisons, gonna decrease the defense from the enemies and also the damage, and you can constantly keep kiting and purging the enemies and also always moving. But if you're running, for example, a brawl composition, you always wanna have like 3 beetles, 3 behemoths that are gonna live inside the enemy, and in case they try to hit you, the silence goes off and the enemy cannot move, so you can run inside them with the mammoth. You also wanna have some ballistas who just gonna demount the enemy BattleMount and gonna make you keep moving inside them without being touched. Or, for example, if you want to run a full push composition, you need a lot of juggernauts, because the juggernaut's going to make the big claps and you're going to keep moving towards the enemy. So it all depends on your compositions or on how you want to build yourself into the battlefield. So I'm just going to make you some examples, okay? So 80 people, brawl comp. Mammoth, if have access to one, it's always good. Mammoth, 1 lizard, 2 eagles, 2 chariots, 2 behemoths, 2 beetles, 10 BattleMounts. Really good. If we're running one-shot composition, 3 towers, 3 chariots, a meme, a lizard, 3 eagles. That's what I would run. If you're running full push composition, juggernauts and beetles, just spam them a full push towards your enemy. Or there's even Zergs that runs the Jurassic Park composition, which basically consists on having over 25 BattleMounts. And then it goes from like 3 chariots, 3 eagles, 3 behemoths, 3 juggernauts, 1 basilisk of each, 1 fire basilisk, 1 venom basilisk, like mammoths. It all depends on how you want to build your Zerg. And depends on the color wise and the Zerg wise. So basically there's not the right BattleMounts to use. It always depends on the composition or in the type of fight you're gonna go. For example, if you're defending a territory, if you take a look at any territory, there's gonna be 2 entries, the west entrance and the east entrance. If you have like 5 behemoths in the front line, nobody's ever entering inside this territory. Or for example, you are defending a castle, and the castle, there's always the doors. If you spam eagles and behemoths on the doors from the castle, the enemy never gonna get inside as well. So the BattleMounts need to be planned according to your composition and according to the type of fight you're gonna get. And I'm gonna talk more about this on the next video when I go into basic compositions and how to set up your Zerg. But just make sure you always have the best composition possible according to the fight you're gonna fight, on the fight you will go. Okay? Hope you guys enjoyed. That's it.